Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is just about to confirm this massive reversal signal on this chart, while the price is still repeating history in the short term, while Ethereum is just about to confirm a massive oversold signal on this time frame for the first time in almost a year. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, taking a look at the super trend indicator, which as of right now is flashing that red signal, the reversal signal on this chart right here. But in order for this signal to confirm, we need to see this 4-day candle close confirm below around 56,000, more specifically around 55.8k approximately, based on this indicator on this time frame. And this 4-day candle close is about to happen very soon. By the time you're watching this video, this 4-day candle close has probably already happened. And so if we're still sitting well below $56,000 per Bitcoin in the coming hours, then there's a good chance that this massive red signal right here in the super trend indicator will finally confirm. And if we do actually confirm this massive bearish signal right here in this indicator on this Bitcoin chart, then in that case, what we've seen in the past is usually more of a bearish trend that has lasted for at least a couple of months, sometimes even a larger bear market. But this signal by itself is not necessarily enough to expect a 1-year bear market. For example, we saw this same signal confirmed back in around mid-2021, and that happened halfway through the 2021 bull market. But of course, we did stay bearish for at least a couple of months or so. And so that's really what this indicator is telling us. It's telling us the larger trend and momentum on the chart. And it's clear that at least as of right now, even if this signal does not confirm with this candle close right here, it's clear that at least for now, the shorter term trend is currently bearish. And obviously, if you've been watching my recent videos here on the channel, I've already been talking about that over and over again here on the channel. Since much higher prices, actually, I've been saying how, at least in the short term, the trend is currently bearish. We're clearly forming lower highs and lower lows, which is what a bearish trend is. But a bearish trend is not necessarily a bad thing, because even during a bearish trend, we can see the occasional pump back to the upside. And also during a bearish trend, we can still profit from bearish price action with short positions, for example. And so even though the trend at the moment, at least in the shorter term, is looking more bearish, technically speaking, there's pretty much always opportunities in the market. You just need to know where to look and know what you're doing. And with that being said, taking a look at this 2-day Bitcoin chart, right now the price is still running into this level of support, which is sitting at roughly around $54,000. So right at around 54k, that is some important support to pay attention to. And as for resistance, we do have this descending line of resistance right here, which is sitting at just underneath $69,000, acting as strong resistance. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart right here, as of right now, the price of Bitcoin is also finding resistance in this price range, which was previous support, now acting as new resistance, sitting in between around 56 to 57,000. And so in the imminent short term, that's the resistance to pay attention to. But even if we were to see a breakout back above around 57,000, in that case, we still have a lot more resistance at around 60 to 61,000 and more resistance at around 67 to 68,000 approximately. And once again, despite short-term bounces, technically speaking, we're still within more of a bearish trend, at least as of right now, forming lower highs and lower lows. So the trend and momentum is still bearish, but during a bearish trend, we can see the occasional bounce back to the upside or sideways consolidation here and there during a bearish trend. And as for support, we still have a lot of support in this price range in between around 51 to 53,000, and we have a significant area of support all the way down here in between around 41,500 to 44,500. But as I've already been saying recently here on the channel, at least for the coming days, maybe over the next couple of weeks or so, I do not actually expect the price of Bitcoin to go below this low right here, which basically we bounced from around 49 to 50,000, give or take. So in the coming days, maybe over the next 1 to 2 weeks, in that sort of time frame, I do not expect the price of Bitcoin to go below that low, below that level. Which means, at least as of right now, I am expecting that that is the local low that's put in place for the price. price, but not necessarily the bottom of the bearish trend. So for example, it could remain the local low for a couple of weeks, and then perhaps in a couple of weeks or a month from now, for example, it's possible that we could continue the bearish trend later on, kind of like what we saw back here. We saw a local low, a decent bounce actually from that low, and then we continued the bearish trend with a new lower low later on, a few weeks later, close to a month later. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, obviously just a couple of days ago, we confirmed this oversold signal in the daily Bitcoin RSI, which basically means we're kind of reaching our downwards limit just in the imminent short term, and we're due to basically reset the RSI back to the upside in the form of some choppy sideways price action or a slight bullish relief are the most likely outcomes just in the short term. Because if we're taking a look at the last couple of times this has happened, we saw this happen right here near the end of June, where we played out basically a slight bullish relief and some choppy sideways price action for roughly around 1 week before eventually the continuation of the bearish trend later on. And then we saw the same signal confirm again near the beginning of July, and obviously from there we saw a lot more bullish price action, more of a bullish relief in the shorter term over the next couple of weeks or so, and then eventually we also continued the bearish trend later on with a new lower low just recently. And so once again, this signal is not enough to confirm a bullish trend reversal, because looking at the last couple of times, we ultimately continued the bearish trend lower later on, but it is a signal telling us that just in the short term for the coming days, maybe over the next 1 or 2 weeks, it's telling us that we're due to see a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action just in the short term. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, right now the price of Bitcoin is playing out pretty much exactly what I've been talking about over the last 1 to 2 days, because I've been comparing this price action right here to what we saw at the bottom of the COVID crash back in March 2020. And this is just one example of many examples, but this type of price action right here is extremely common to see in the price of Bitcoin, especially after an extremely volatile move, a massive crash to the downside. And so basically what we usually end up seeing after a major crash in the price of Bitcoin, we usually see that initial reaction to the upside, the initial bounce, but usually the initial reaction is too large of a bounce to the upside, and then we see a slight pullback again to the downside, but that pullback does not go below the initial low. And then ultimately we stabilize in the short term and possibly play out a bit of a slight bullish relief once again over the next 1 week, give or take. This is what I'm expecting and what I've been saying over the last 2 days, and so far has been playing out exactly as expected over the last couple of days. And just before I talk about my Bitcoin trading strategy right now, if you want to trade these moves for yourself in Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally I take just about all of my trades over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a massive lucky draw happening right now over on Bybit, where you could potentially win up to $100,000 just by trading crypto using the link down below this video. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And now when it comes to my Bitcoin trading strategy right now, personally, I'm very slowly scaling into a Bitcoin long position. That is right, I'm scaling into a Bitcoin long position as we speak, but very slowly. I'm not going heavily into the position all at once. And at least for now, I'm using relatively low leverage, like 5x leverage, give or take. And so that's basically my trading strategy right now. And I mentioned that in my last video here on the channel. And once again, I'm scaling into the position. And what that means, in case you're new to all of this, is if the price of Bitcoin dips lower here, if we continue this pullback, kind of like what we saw back here in this previous scenario, then essentially I have some more entries laid out, some more buy orders for that long position. So if we pull back lower, that will just basically add to the position and lower my average entry price. And now if we essentially confirm a break below this previous low right here, that would essentially be the point of invalidation. That would be telling us that we're likely going to continue the bearish trend already. So of course, that would be the point where I'd think about putting a stop loss, basically closing the trade at a slight loss in order to avoid any further losses. That would be the risk management scenario that I'm using here if we break below this low. But for as long as we see any bounce right here in the price of Bitcoin, whether it's right here or at a slightly lower price but above this previous low, basically I would profit from that trade. And some levels that I'll be looking at taking some profits out of that Bitcoin long position would essentially be at some key levels of resistance. If we make it to any resistance levels, I'll be taking some profits around resistance. And also if we see other bearish signals, like for example, if the RSI here on the 4-hour time frame resets over the next few days up towards overbought territories, if we see a bit of a bullish relief pushing the RSI into overbought territories, that would be a signal that I'll be looking at to potentially take some profits out of a long position. And another signal that I'll be looking at to potentially take some profits is the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, because right now we still have a decent amount of liquidity sitting at around 57.8k to 58k. And so I would also potentially look to take some profits at around that area of liquidity, maybe just underneath that area of liquidity, because usually, not always, but usually the price of Bitcoin likes to go towards where there's a lot of liquidity. But as always, nothing that I say is personal financial advice, because I don't know your personal financial situation. I'm just doing what's right for me and sharing my trading strategy. I'm just being transparent, telling you what I'm currently doing with my own money. And with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, right now we're still seeing that major bounce from this critical area of support right here in between around $2,000 to $2,150. And so over the last one day, this weekly time frame for the price of ETH has not really changed all that much. So if we're taking a look at this 3-day time frame, we can see over the last one day, the 3-day Ethereum RSI is now starting to enter into oversold territories for the first time in almost a year, because the last time this happened on the 3-day time frame was back in around September last year. And we can see the last time this happened, the price was basically reaching the downwards limit, at least in the shorter term, and we were due to see a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action and even a bullish relief later on. And now, once again, the RSI signal by itself, an oversold signal by itself, is not enough to confirm a bullish trend reversal. We would need to see other bullish trend reversal signals in order to confirm that. But what this signal is telling us is, at least in the shorter term, we're approaching the downwards limit. We're essentially already at some sort of local low right here. As I mentioned in my last couple of videos, it's very likely that this candle wick will hold as the low, at least for the next few days, maybe for the next couple of weeks. But we also have to consider that a likely scenario that could play out over the next few weeks is possibly a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action before seeing a continuation of the bearish trend later on. That is a possibility that we need to consider. And so when it comes to support and resistance to pay attention to, right now I'll be paying attention to this golden pocket acting as support, sitting in between around 2150 to around 2230, and below the golden pocket we have more support at around 1890 to 1880, so just below 1.9k. And as for resistance, we do have a bit of resistance at roughly around 2,500, as we've seen just recently, and we have a significant level of resistance based on previous support and resistance now acting as new resistance, sitting right at around 2.8k. But with that being said, taking a look at the price of Solana on the daily time frame, and right now the price of Solana is starting to stabilize after that extreme volatility to the downside and then the initial reaction to the upside. Because of course, over the last couple of days, we did run into this significant area of support in between around 120 to 128. And we also have this area of support to the downside in between around 100 to 106. And not only did we see a decent amount of buying pressure around this area of support right here, pushing the price a little bit higher just in the short term here, we were also bouncing from almost oversold territories in the daily Solana RSI. And as I said recently here on the channel, looking at the last couple of times this has happened in the daily Solana RSI, these also occurred right around local lows in the price before we were due to see a bit of a break or a relief from all of the bearish price action. And now, once again, this signal by itself is not enough to confirm a massive new bullish trend, but it is enough to basically tell us that we're due to see a bit of a bounce or a sideways consolidation of some sort, just a break from all of the bearish price action. And as for other levels of support and resistance, right now the price is actually trading slightly above this area on the chart, which could now act as a bit of short-term support sitting in between 140 to 144. And as for resistance, I would now expect some decent resistance at around 154 and more resistance in between around 159 to 161 and more resistance in between around 170 to 175. And once again, as I've been saying recently here on the channel, the short-term trend and momentum is still bearish, but during that bearish trend, we're likely going to see the price just stabilize a little bit here in the short term over the coming days, maybe over the next 1 to 2 weeks. And once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.